Hello Clat Warriors, hope you are doing good and preparing really well, right? And scoring really well in your mocks as well. So coming on to the very first passage of Alit. So the writer begins by asking a question here: did the universe have a beginning? Will it eventually come to an end? How did the universe evolve into what we can see today, a cosmic web of stars, galaxies, planets, and at least on one pale blue planet, what sometimes passes for intelligent life? Not so very long ago, these kinds of existential questions were just to be without scientific answers. So in these lines, author is actually pointing out that how did the universe begin, will it end someday, how did form stars, planets, life, and earlier people, not so very long, these kinds of existence questions were judged. Like author is saying that not very long ago, people thought such questions could never be answered by science, right, without any scientific answers. Yet scientists have found some answers through more than a century of astronomical observation and theoretical developments that has been woven together to give us the Big Bang theory of cosmology. So scientists has somehow were able to give us answers through this Big Bang theory, and this extraordinary theory is supported by a wide range of astronomical evidence, is broadly accepted by the scientific community. So this is accepted by scientific community and has at least by name become embedded in popular culture. So embedded, like fixed firmly into popular culture, right? So Big Bang theory, which explains how universe started and evolved, and this theory is supported by much evidence and widely accepted by science. It's even become a part of pop culture and everyday talk. We should not get too comfortable. Now author is saying ki abhi theek hai. Author is kind of warning us that we should not think that the Big Bang theory answers everything, right? Although it tells us an altogether remarkable story, the current Big Bang theory leaves us with many unsatisfactorily unanswered questions, and recent astronomical observations threaten to undermine it completely, right? So there are still many things we do not know, and new observation even challenge the theory itself, right? The Big Bang theory may very soon be in crisis. To understand why, it helps to appreciate that there is much more to the theory than the Big Bang itself. That the universe must have had a historical beginning was an inevitable consequence of concluding that the space in it is expanding. So author is saying that to understand its background, the author explains how the idea started when scientists found the galaxies are moving away from us, right? In 1929, observations of distant galaxies by the American astronomer Edwin and his assistant Milton had produced a remarkable result. The overwhelming majority of galaxies they had studied are moving away from us at speed directly proportional to their distances. So in 1929, Hubble and Milton discovered that the farther away a galaxy is, the faster it seems to move away, right? To get sense of these speeds, imagine planet Earth making its annual pilgrimage around the sun at a sedate orbital speed of around 30 kilometers per second. Hubble and Milton found galaxies moving away at tens of thousands of kilometers per second, representing significant fractions of the speed of light. So author is saying here that this relationship, known as Hubble and Lemaitre law, showed that the space itself is expanding like dots moving apart on a balloon as it inflates, right? This Hubble speed distance relation had been anticipated by Belgian theorist Georges Lemaitre a few years before and is today known as Hubble-Lemaitre law. The constant of proportionality between speed and distance is the Hubble constant and a measure of rate at which the universe is expanding. Okay? In truth, the galaxies are not actually moving away. Okay? Now, author is saying that they are not actually moving away, and Earth occupies no special place at the center of universe. So Earth is not in the center of universe. The galaxies are being carried away by the expansion of the space that lies between us, much as 2 points drawn on a deflated balloon will move apart as the balloon is inflated. वो उतनी ही दूर जा रही है जैसे कि हम एक बलून को हम इन्फ्लेट करते हैं तो जिस तरीके से उसके डॉट्स एक दूसरे से दूर जाते हैं उस तरीके से. इन अ यूनिवर्स इन विच स्पेस इज एक्सपैंडिंग, एवरीथिंग इज बीइंग carried away from everything else. To get handle on distances of these galaxies, astronomers made use of so-called Cepheid variable star. ठीक है, author used this Cepheid variable star, that stars that brighten and dim regularly, that is used to measure distance in space, right? So author is warning us that we should not think that Big Bang theory answers everything, and to understand its background he is giving us this example of balloon. And now astronomers use certain star called Cepheid variables or standard candles, right, to estimate distances, cosmic lighthouse flashing on and off in the darkness that can tell us how far they are, right? But in late 1920s, these touchstone stars were poorly understood and the distances derived from them were greatly underestimated, leading scientists to overestimate the Hubble constant and rate of expansion. It took astronomers 70 years to sort this out. So author is saying here that back then these stars were not well understood and scientists made mistake that caused them to think that the universe was expanding faster than actually it was. So it took decades to correct these errors. All right, so the Big Bang theory faces challenges because जो new evidences आए हैं, जो past measurement errors हैं, they show the details that may need some revision, right? So the discovery of universe expansion through Hubble's work was key to forming the theory, though early calculations were flawed. ठीक है? Now coming on to the ओवरऑल अगर हम इसके सेंट्रल आइडिया की बात करें इस पैसेज के की आइडिया की, तो इट इज एक्सप्लेनिंग अस हाउ बिग बैंग थियरी बिकेम द डोमिनेंट साइंटिफिक एक्सप्लेनेशन फॉर द ओरिजिन एक्सपेंशन ऑफ यूनिवर्स, and it describes how early observations like Hubble's discovery of expanding galaxies supported this theory. However, it also warns that the theory is not complete. Some questions still are unresolved and new observations could even force scientists to rethink and revise it, right? Now coming on to the first question, what is the main concern of the author in the passage? So the Big Bang theory is a cultural phenomena rather than the scientific one. बिल्कुल नहीं. Big Bang is the passage treats it as a scientific theory with cultural impact. It is not just cultural one. So A is incorrect. Recent discoveries may necessitate revising the Big Bang theory. Yes, very explicitly stated in the conclusion, right? Because the passage says that the Big Bang theory has long explained how the universe began and expanded, but now new evidence and unanswered questions might challenge it. This means scientists may have to revise or rethink some part of this theory. Astronomers like Hubble and Lemaitre miscalculated, making the Big Bang theory unreliable. No, passage says those mistakes were corrected and did not destroy the theory, right? So option C is also incorrect. The expansion of the universe shows Earth is at its center. ये साफ साफ हमारे पैसेज में कहा गया है कि Earth is not at its center, तो D is also incorrect. Next question. What is the meaning of standard candle, right? Reliable reference point. Yes, astronomers calls it as a Cepheid star standard candles because their brightness changes in a predictable pattern, right? And this allows scientists to measure distance to galaxies accurately, like using a known light source to judge the distance. So they are reliable reference points. Decorative illusions, bilkul nahi. Unrelated, the phrase is not about any decoration. Flickering illusion of distance, no, because the stars are not illusion, they are accurate measuring point. So C is also incorrect. Astronomical anomalies, no, they are useful because they are regular, not unusual or anomalies. So D is also incorrect. Moving on to the next question. What is the purpose of mentioning distance underestimation? Like the author mentions the underestimation of distances to galaxies in 1920s primarily to undermine the reliability of Cepheid variable star, No, Cepheid stars stayed reliable. They are not discredited, so A is incorrect. Show why early astronomers doubted Hubble's discovery. No, Hubble's discovery was accepted. Only the measurements were refined, right? So B is also incorrect. Suggest that Big Bang theory was never taken seriously. No, C is also incorrect because Big Bang theory was taken seriously and became central to cosmology. So C is also incorrect. Illustrate how scientific progress require correction of earlier errors. Yes, early astronomers made mistakes in estimating distance, but those errors were fixed as technology improved. So this shows that scientific knowledge evolves and mistakes are part of the progress. So D is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. Let's complete the sentence. Although the Big Bang theory has been central to modern cosmology for nearly a century, its survival may hinge on explaining new contradiction. Yes, because the author says that Big Bang theory faces new unresolved questions, so it can remain valid only if it explains these contradictions, right? So its survival may hinge on explaining new contradictions. It is now considered a mere cultural myth. No, critics haven't said, or it is still a respected scientific model, not any myths. Its critics have completely discredited it, dismissing the theory as fundamentally flawed and outdated. No, it is still dominant, very extreme option. It no longer explains the role of gravity in the cosmos. Gravity is not the issue that author is raising, right? So D is irrelevant. Next question. Analogy of this inflating balloon is most similar to which of the following analogies? ठीक है, cars moving away from each other on straight highway. Cars move on their own unlike galaxies. So A is not similar to this inflating balloon. Planets orbiting the sun at different speed. It is a rotational motion, right? Not some expansion. So it is not also similar. Dots on a spinning wheel moving towards outward from the center. Dots are spinning wheel moving around, they are not moving away. So DC is also incorrect. Raisins in a rising loaf of bread moving apart at the dough expands. Yes, D is the correct answer, right? Because when bread dough rises, raisin move apart, right? And not because they move by themselves, but because the dough, the space, dough, अगर हम dough को consider करें as a space, तो when it expands, those raisins also expands far away, similar to galaxies, right? So this is a similar analogy. D is the correct answer. Next question, grammatical error. ठीक है? Yes, scientists have found some answers. A correct phrase, no error. Through more than a century of astronomical observation, ठीक है? Correct prepositional phrase, correct है. And theoretical developments that have been, not has been. अगर प्लूरल सब्जेक्ट है तो प्लूरल वर्ब होगी, तो यहाँ सब्जेक्ट वर्ब डिसएग्रीमेंट है, तो यस सी इज अ करेक्ट आंसर. इट कंटेन्स अ ग्रामेटिकल एरर. डी टू गिव अस द बिग बैंग थियरी ऑफ कॉस्मोलॉजी, इट इज ऑल्सो ग्रामेटिकली फाइन. तो वी हैव गॉट आवर आंसर, दैट इज ऑप्शन सी. Coming on to the next question, what is the Hubble's discovery that these galaxies are receding at vast speeds was nothing short of a dash in cosmology. ठीक है. Is it catastrophe? Fill in the blanks of a catastrophe in cosmology. No, because catastrophe means negative or inappropriate. तो ये तो it was signifying progress. Catastrophe is a disaster, so it doesn't fit into the context. B, paradigm shift. Yes, B is the correct answer, because paradigm shift means a complete change in how we think about something, like discovering the universe expansion transformed our entire understanding of the cosmos. So it is a huge shift in scientific thinking, right? So yes, B is the correct answer. Routine correction, बहुत minor word है. Minor adjustment, it is also very weak because it was revolutionary, right? So we have got a correct answer, that is option B. Next question, author का क्या attitude है towards Big Bang theory? ठीक है. Is it reverential? Reverential बिल्कुल नहीं, because reverential is worshipful or overly respectful, so it will go very extreme. Dismissive भी नहीं है, because it means rejective or belittling something. The author's tone is just opposite of dismissive. Cautiously admiring. Yes, C is our correct answer because the author respects the theory's brilliance but wants the new discovery may challenge it. Right? So this shows admiration with a hint of caution, not blind praise, not rejection. Neutral, no. Neutral means no opinion, but the author clearly has one, right? Coming on to the passage 2, the rules of Louisiana Nutria Rodeo are simple. So it is some kind of game and its rules are simple. From the strike of midnight on a Friday morning in February, your kill crew has 40 hours to shoot. So your kill crew, your team has 40 hours to shoot as many swamp rats as possible. You can hunt in any swamp or coastal marsh within state lines provided you deliver the rodents' corpses to the marina in Venice, the last settlement before the mouth of Mississippi River by Saturday at 4 in the afternoon to be weighed to 2 decimal places in a plastic crate. So the first paragraph is explaining the rules and timings of Louisiana Nutria Rodeo, a hunting contest to kill and weigh as many swamp rats as possible, right? Now, at 5, the cook-off begins, like the cooking begins. At 6:30, the rodeo's director Robbie presents oversized checks, big checks, right, symbolically, wo jo hote hain. Cash prize awarded to the winning teams in various rat-killing categories. Hunter Courville and Cayune Fever performs energetic Zydeco and Swamp Pop anthems. So Zydeco and Swamp Pop is the styles of energetic Louisiana music, right? Combining different kinds of genres of music. Then and only then does the rodeo's main attraction commence. The Nutria tours, the children's division goes first. So in second paragraph, it shows that the event is not just about hunting, it is about community celebration with food, music, prizes and fun competition, right? Now last year the largest payout at the rodeo was claimed at Ratatouille Slaughterhouse, a hulking posse of hunting buddies from Greater Baton Rouge, which swept the non-airboat division categories of biggest rat 19.8 pounds, 3 rat aggregate 53.9 and most rats 243, more than triple that Bounty Busters 79. So this paragraph is introducing the winning team and their competitiveness. They are almost aggressive, enthusiastic for hunting nutria, right? Aggregate is total amount or combined score, right? Okay, now moving on to the next line. Now, in their spare time, the slaughterhouse men landscape install gutters and patio covers and engineer pipeline, but mainly they hunt. If I aren't making money, said Jason, who purchased and designed a new dual rig mud boat for this year's rodeo, I am killing something. On their way to achieve Nutria rodeo dominance, the group has perfected their hunting technique. They had determined that the most productive hunting grounds were not near Venice but much farther upriver, where there were fewer hunters and marsh was healthier, right? While many captains allow no more than 2 hunters aboard at a time to avoid crossfire, Ratatouille Slaughterhouse squeezed in 3. एक boat में जहाँ सिर्फ 2 ही allowed है, they are 3. They began at midnight to take advantage of the entire 40-hour hunting window, extinguishing their petrol lights and flipping on their headlamps. The slaughterhouse men patrolled the canals with shotguns cocked, leaping from the boat to grab their dead and pursue their wounded through the canebrake. So these lines tells us it is describing the extreme and risky hunting tactics the winning team used, showing their skill, bravery, obsession with the victory, right? This canebrake is a dense area of cane plants. Canebrake, okay? This level of daring do, brave, courageous, can be perilous. Perilous is very dangerous on a dark night in alligator country. They had spotted as many as 8 gators on a single flat, and especially at low altitude when a 300-pound man hurling himself onto the wrong patch of mud might plunge clear to his chest, but that's what it takes to win the rodeo. So when they shot nutria, they jumped from the boat to collect them, even chasing them wounded into the cane fields, and it was risky, especially with alligators or at low tide, right? And when one wrong jump could sink a man into deep mud, but that's what it takes to win, right? So, through these lines we can see how enthusiastic and passionate they are to win this contest. The nutria, the swamp rat of southern Louisiana, may not be as ferocious. They are not as dangerous as a feral hog or as deadly as gator, but it is reasonably intelligent. They are reasonably intelligent, particularly when it comes to the preservation of its life. It seems to have adapted to the likelihood that a mud boat crowded with shotgun wielding hunters might suddenly surge out of the darkness. At the first rumble of an engine, it bolts. It's a canny hider, burrowing tunnels at any sign of alarm. Canny means clever, cautious. Chupne mein mahir hai, they are clever. They burrow their tunnels at any sign of alarm whenever they hear the sound of engine. Before emerging, it pokes out its whiskered snout. वो जब अपने burrow से बाहर निकलते हैं, with those whiskers, they sense the danger outside to make sure the coast is clear. When there is nowhere to burrow or no dense brush to dive into, it crouches behind thickets its own size and goes motionless like a child in freeze tag. It knows that people want to kill it. It just doesn't know why. So, in these lines, author is highlighting the paragraph shifts focus from nutria, from that energetic, enthusiastic, passionate game to nutria's intelligence, right? And its instinct for survival, showing it is a creature that tries to escape but cannot understand why humans hunt it, right? Last lines are very emotional. Think from that rodent's point of view. Now coming, so overall अगर हम इसका central idea देखते हैं passage का, तो it is a very vivid, ironic picture of Louisiana Nutria Rodeo, and it shows both the human side, the competition, excitement, danger, community spirit, and the animal side, the nutria's fear, cleverness, confusion about being hunted, right? Now coming on to the very next question. Which of the following best captures the underlying irony in the description of the Nutria Rodeo? A brutal hunting competition is structured like a festive community event. Yes, A is correct about it, because the irony is that something violent, right, killing hundreds of swamp rats is treated like a joyful festival with food, music, children games and prizes. The cheerful tone hides the fact that it's all based on mass killing. So this is the irony, right? Children are shielded from violence by participating only in nutria toss. No, children are not shielded. That they toss dead rats in the nutria toss. So B is incorrect. The nutria, though destructive, is portrayed as noble and fearless. बिल्कुल नहीं, nutria are not described as noble or heroic, just smart survivors. उनको nutria, those rats are not noble or fearless, just smart survivors, right? The rodeo prizes elevate recreational killing into economic necessity. Now the prizes doesn't make killing a financial necessity, it's just a game, right? Nowhere we have found that it is the economic necessity. So A is the correct answer. Next question, what can be inferred about the Ratatouille slaughterhouse team's approach compared to that of other groups? They relied primarily on expensive technology, no mention of expensive technology rather than physical effort, right? Their success came from effort and danger, right? They preferred hunting closer to Venice, despite no, just opposite is mentioned, not closer to Venice, right? They hunted farther upriver. They restricted their crew to 2 hunters to ensure safety and precision. No, they hunted, they increased hunters 3 instead of 2, not reduce them. So yes, we have got the correct answer, that is D. They were more willing to take risks, thereby maximizing their hunting yield, because the team took took extra risk fitting in 3 hunters, turning off lights and hunting through dangerous areas filled with alligators to catch more nutria, right? So this shows they were daring and wanted to win at any cost. Next question. The nutria's behavior as described in the final paragraph most strongly suggests which view? Okay? Animals instinctively understand the cultural reason. They do not understand the cultural reason. They know that they do not understand why humans hunt them. They just react. They just hide. They know they are going to get killed, but they do not understand why they are going to get killed, right? But it is incorrect. Survival strategies of prey evolve in response to persistent human threats. Yes. The nutria learns to hide, burrow and check carefully before coming out, meaning it has adapted over time to survive human attacks. Nutria are more dangerous. नहीं साफ साफ पैसेज में इसका जस्ट ऑपोजिट लिखा है. They are not that dangerous, right? The author believes nutria are too unintelligent to adapt effectively. The author calls them reasonably intelligent, right? Not too unintelligent. Again, so D is also incorrect. Next question. The tone of the passage in its treatment of the rodeo and the hunters is best described as fiercely critical and condemnatory. No, the tone is not angry or critical or openly condemning, so A is incorrect. Nostalgic for traditional community, no, where there is longing for the past or nostalgia is shown. Objective but tinged with dry irony, yes, C is the correct answer because the writer sounds factual and calm but quietly ironic, right? Describing violent hunting with cheerful details about Kukoc's prizes, and that contrasts adds subtle humor and criticism, and later telling about how the rodent feels, right? So C is the correct answer. There is objectivity and there is dry irony. Celebratory, no, author is nowhere celebrating it or praising it. He observes it ironically. So we have got the correct answer, that is option C. Coming to question number 13, what larger commentary about human-animal relations does the closing line? It knows that people want to kill it, it just doesn't know why, most clearly imply. Alright, human violence towards animal is often driven by necessity rather than choice. Rodeo is not about necessity, it is about competition, so A is wrong. The rodeo participants respect nutria but hunt them due to state laws. Hunters have not shown any respect or obeying any law, so it is also irrelevant. Animals evolve to fully understand the cultural meaning, no, they do not. They are just reacting. They are not understanding why are they getting killed. The nutria's ignorance of human motives underscores the absurdity of killing or sport. Yes, D is the correct answer because the rat knows it's being hunted but not the reason. It shows how meaningless and cruel human hunting looks from an animal perspective. Killing for fun, not for survival, right? So D is the correct answer. Coming on to the next question. Which of the following words best replaces daring do? Take care. Reckless is careless, right? Foolish risk, not brave action, so A does not match. Cowardice is just opposite of bravery. Yes, C is the correct answer, that is bravery, because daring do means daring or courageous behavior, brave deeds, so bravery matches perfectly. Showmanship is doing something to impress someone, not showing courage, so D doesn't fit the context. Next question. Identify the sentence with grammatical error. Okay. You can hunt in any swamp or coastal marsh within state lines provided you deliver the rodents' corpses. Because यहाँ पे there is a plural possessive, right? Because there are many nutria, there are many rodents, right? So apostrophe must come after S. It should be written like this, rodents. So yes, A contains grammatical error and B, C, D are perfectly fine, right? No error in B, C, D. Coming on to the next question. What concern about nutria is subtly suggested by the writer? Okay? That they are not truly dangerous, only misunderstood. So yes, explicitly stated in the passage, isn't it? The author says that nutria are not as ferocious as hogs or gators, but are intelligent and cautious, showing they are unfairly treated as threats. that they may eventually outsmart very extreme. The author never says nutria will outsmart humans, right? That nutria populations are too small to justify such hunts. No such information is given that their population, about their population number, so we cannot infer this, right? That nutria are revered cultural animals. Nowhere in the passage said that they are sacred or culturally important or they are worshipped. No, these also irrelevant. Coming on to the next question, identify the sentence which contains the participle phrase. ठीक है, participle phrase पहले एक बार देख लेते हैं. verb plus ing or ed that works as adjective, right? अब option A, let's look at option A. The question is that contains participle phrase. The slaughterhouse-men patrolled the canals with shotguns cocked. It is a prepositional phrase. It can with shotguns cocked. It is a prepositional phrase, not a participle one. So A is incorrect. Extinguishing their patrol lights and flipping on their headlamps, the slaughterhouse-men patrolled the canals. Yes, it has the participle phrase because extinguishing and flipping, right? So the phrase modifies the slaughterhouse men and tells us what they are doing while patrolling the canal. So this is a participle phrase. The nutria crouches behind thickets and goes motionless like a child in freeze tag. Like a child in freeze tag is a simile here, used here, not a participle phrase, right? And option D, the cook-off begins at 5 followed by neuter toss by neuter toss for children followed by the neuter toss is a past participle used as a part of passive construction, right? But it is not a full participle phrase modifying a noun or acting as an adjective. So it is just telling the sequence. So it is not fully participle phrase. So D is also incorrect. Now coming to passage 3. On the morning of March 19, 2000, Florian Reeder learned what it felt like to scrape the sky like to be extremely high up, like touching the sky, metaphorically obviously. He was just stepped out of the 91st floor of the North Tower of World Trade Center through a hollowed out window, a window that has been emptied or removed, right? Now as Sunday's dawn cracked, Reeder, dressed in a brilliant white leather jacket and matching jeans, stood on a makeshift wooden balcony. It protruded means stuck out from a surface. It protruded a few feet toward the horizon. Horizon, you understand now? That the line where the earth seems to meet the sky, right? Looking down was okay, but gazing up made him nauseous. So he stared straight ahead, locking eyes with the pink sunrise. It was fantastic. It was really sexy feeling. So in these lines, this Florian Reeder experienced the thrilling and dizzying feeling of standing on a tiny balcony outside the 91st floor of World Trade Center during sunrise, right? Now, this vertiginous like dizzying, making you feel like you might fall, performance wasn't the act of brazen stuntman. Brazen यानी bold, ये किसी bold stuntman का act नहीं था. Crazed trespasser is someone entering without permission, or suicidal employee. They were not trying to commit suicide. It was the work of Austrian art collective Gelatin, which consists of Florian Reeder, Ali Janka, Wolfgang Gantner and Tobias, titled The Bee Thing. So they titled this art as a bee thing. The feat saw the four men, now all in their 50s, secretly construct a balcony inside the World Trade Center, temporarily attach it and briefly stand on top of it, floating dreamily above New York City. The call for the void, that perverse temptation to jump when you are high up in the sky, briefly beckoned, like this was a signal, right? We'll step out one by one like lemmings. Lemmings is an animal jo line aisa, it has a tendency to jump off the cliff. Urban is recorded saying just before he walks the plank, but any design on self defenestration soon faded. Self-defenestration is throwing oneself out of a window, right? So in these lines, author is telling us that this dangerous act was not a random dare or act of madness. It was an art performance by this group Gelatin, right? And they named it, they named this project a bee thing, the bee thing, sorry, and they secretly built a balcony inside the building and attached it to, for a short period of time, stood on it as if floating above New York City. And for a moment, artists even joked about jumping off, comparing themselves as lemmings, right? But they did not. They simply stood still on balcony like statue, showing human daring and absurdity. Urban is recorded saying just before the walk, but any design on self-defenestration soon faded. मतलब कूदने का उनका कोई ऐसा विचार नहीं. Instead, each artist stood like statue. They were there, standing like statue, balancing on the edge of corporate America. One member of Gelatin, which one is a secret, stuck a piece of chewing gum on the wall outside as if planting a flag in the moon, right? So one of them even stuck chewing gum to the outside wall as if marking the moment, like astronauts planting a flag on the moon. The helicopter simultaneously circled the North Tower. Crammed inside the chopper were a small group of associates photographing Gelatin as they stood 1100 feet above the future ground zero. Less than an hour after it has begun, the balcony was hauled back in and the window was resealed. अभी 1 घंटे का ही ये पूरा शो था. The entire event lasted less than an hour and they pulled the balcony back inside and resealed the window. And before that, एक helicopter आया around that tower carrying a team that took photographs of those 4 artists from above. And since then, and just like that, bee thing was over. And in the 25 years since, those involved have largely avoided speaking about the event again. ठीक है. Outside of esoteric circles, small specialized groups of people which shared rare knowledge. Outside of those who were involved in that particular act, it's still relatively obscure. ठीक है. Obscure like unclear, little known to others apart from those who were involved in that act. For a long time, many skeptics believed it never had happened. ये कभी हुआ ही नहीं. Claimed that it was just a hoax on a vast scale. Now almost everyone agrees that bee thing took place, but opinion is split on what it means. So, अभी many people even believed it never happened or it was a hoax, but most accept that it did happen, but people still disagree about its meaning. कि why? मतलब ये क्या था? क्या चीज़ थी? ठीक है? Perhaps it was a reckless stunt, reckless या careless, dangerous stunt, a stand against capitalism. कुछ क्या सोचते हैं कि it was a stand against capitalism, like protest against economic system that values profit, right? The first great artwork of new millennium. Deeper still, a way to better understand what would a year and a half later in September 2001 be one of the darkest days in American history. कुछ इसको किससे करते हैं? Or most explosive of all, to a small community prone to unhinged conspiracy. So some others sees a critique to capitalism or as in work of art making the beginning of new millennium. Some even believe it foreshadowed the 9/11 attack. ठीक है? The darkest days of American history. ठीक है? And seeing it is symbolically linked to tragedy, though that view is extreme and conspirational. Author is saying this view is extreme, very extreme. It was the very thing that somehow caused it. So author is saying that in these lines, bee thing is interpreted in different ways, from bold art to political protest to bizarre conspiracy, showing how art can take on many meanings after the fact. It was the very thing that somehow caused it. Gelatin current space thankfully isn't 91st floor in the air, it's just a few floors up in Vienna studio. So Gelatin कहाँ पे है? Gelatin studio कहाँ पे है? They work safely in a studio in Vienna, right? Not in any skyscraper on 91st floor. Reader greets me as I arrived on a stormy Saturday afternoon. A Bart Simpson tank top and rack shorts hang on his slender frame. दुबले पतले, मतलब अभी यहाँ पे रीड को डिसाइड कर रहा है, डिस्क्राइब कर रहा है that Florian Reed welcomes the interviewer on a stormy afternoon wearing casual clothes, right? And it's a capacious space, it's a large space, brimming with gelatin's madcap experiments. Madcap is crazy but fun, right? Gelatin's madcap experiments, reconstructed wooden chairs, cuddly toys, sculptures, Mona Lisa, pastiche. Pastiche is an imitation, ठीक है? Mona Lisa's imitation, and toilet filled with foliage plants. In the basement, hundreds of banana boxes from the local supermarket are stacked to the ceiling and packed with retro tool, kaput machinery. Kaput is something broken, right? It's a slang for something that is not working, and past artworks. So the present day gelatin continues to embrace playful, chaotic creativity in their Vienna studio, showing the same daring spirit but in safer and more humorous way. So overall, अगर हम इस passage के बारे में देखें तो the passage narrates the story of the Bee Thing, a daring 2000 art performance by Austrian group Gelatin, which secretly built balcony in 91st floor of World Trade Center, and reflects on how this act, past performance or past rebellion or past absurd joke, has been interpreted in many ways. कि एंटी कैपिटलिस्ट प्रोटेस्ट हो सकता है, विजनरी आर्ट हो सकता है, और सम प्रोफेटिक इवेंट हो सकता है, राइट? एंड द पैसेज कंट्रास्ट द फियरलेस सरियल एनर्जी and exploring how art challenges boundary between danger, beauty and different interpretations of meaning. Coming on to the next question, what is the meaning of perverse in the context? ठीक है, unnatural and disturbing. Yes, A is the correct answer, because in the phrase the call for a void, the perverse temptation to jump when you are high up in the sky briefly beckoned. In this statement, this call of the void means a strange, dark, irrational urge to jump when you are standing high above on the ground, even when you do not actually want to die. So this is unnatural and unsettling and disturbing, right? So yes, A is the correct answer. Humorous and light-hearted कहीं से कहीं तक नहीं है. The feeling is creepy, unsettling, but not funny. Thoughtless and accidental, no, it is real, conscious temptation, not an accidental action, right? Dangerous and meaningless, it is close. Option D is close, but it misses the emotional side of something unsettling, something unnatural, something undisturbing. So yes, it is dangerous, but something option D is missing that emotional side of that particular word, perverse. So yes, we have got the correct answer, that is A. Coming on to the next question, the author notes that opinion is split on what it means. Which of the following interpretations aligns least with the spirit of the passage? ठीक है. The Bee Thing can be seen as symbolic critique of capitalism, explicitly stated. तो yes, it is aligning. हमें बताना है कि कौन सा least align कर रहा है, right? It foreshadowed the destruction of World Trade Center, ये भी बिल्कुल बताया गया है हमारे पैसेज में. It represents the humanity's obsession with risk and spectacle. Yes, this is also the mentioned interpretation. ठीक है, it was a technical rehearsal. कहीं भी नहीं लिखा हमारे पैसेज में that the act was technical or practical or for so many large scale engineering projects. So yes, D is the least. It aligns least with the spirit of the passage. Next question. Which would be the most appropriate closing line of the passage? ठीक है. Art like danger always fades with time. No, the passage shows that still fascinates people. It does not fade with time, right? So A is incorrect. The Bee Thing endures as both a mystery and a metaphor. Yes, B is the correct answer, because Bee Thing, author presented Bee Thing as something strange, hard to define and symbolic, something that remains puzzling and meaningful even today. So yes, B goes with the interpretation, right? Recklessness can never be confused with creativity. No, too moralistic, the author never judges them harshly. Gelatin's prank foreshadowed the fall of art itself, very exaggerated and irrelevant option, right? So the correct answer is B. Moving on to the next question, what is the tone, emotion of the writer? ठीक है. Is it detached irony? No. The tone is engaged and descriptive, not sarcastic or detached, right? Fascinated curiosity, Yes, B is the correct answer because the author describes every detail. The dawn, the balcony, the helicopter, the gum with vivid fascination. So the tone shows interest and wonder, right? Not mockery or anger, right? Pure amusement. No, nahi, purely comic bhi nahi hai. That inspires awe or reflection. So D is very shallow. Next question. Okay. The B thing was carried out secretly with minimal external witness and quickly concealed. Yes. मुश्किल से 1 घंटे तक वो एक्ट चला था. तो yes, A is correct. Statement 1 is correct. The B thing was widely publicized at the time and immediately acknowledged as a masterpiece. No. The text says that act was secret, and it also mentions for a long time people did not believe it even happened, which means it was not publicized or accepted immediately. So statement 2 is false. So we have got the correct answer, that is C. Statement 1 is true and statement 2 is false. Coming on to the question number 23, which of the following sentences from the past uses the present perfect tense? Okay, those involved have largely avoided. Present perfect tense, have plus verbs third form. Okay, so yes, A is our correct answer. Reader greeted me. Simple past. One member of gelatin stuck a piece. Simple past. The balcony was hauled back. Possessive voice. Okay, the balcony was hauled back in and the window was resealed. So yes, A is our correct answer. Alright, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Lord willing and the creek don't rise is more than a turn of a phrase in Appalachia. It's a prayer. So more than author is starting that this phrase is common in Appalachia, and it means if God allows and nothing goes wrong. Okay? So in this particular story, the phrase means more than just being a phrase. It is a prayer, and it is always untelling what rising waters might bring. ये कोई नहीं बता सकता कि what rising waters might bring, but no one was ready for the signs and wonders that followed in the days after the flood. The first sign something was wrong on the evening of Thursday, July 28, 2022 came at 11:30 p.m. when Tim Conway's car began washing down his driveway. Tim's husband Chad had shaken him from a deep sleep moment before. Tim's first thought once he threw on boots and pulled a work shirt over his shaved head and slender frame were with the four purebred short thorns now trapped in the couple's barn 100 yards from their house. So on this night of July 28, 2022, this Tim noticed something strange. His car was floating away. His husband Chad woke him up just on time, and Tim quickly got dressed, worrying about his 4 short-horned cow, right, who are trapped in a barn nearby, and their farm is far away, right. Holiday Farm faces a rock ledge leading up to a steep mountain incline off Route 476, the road running mere feet from the farmhouse porch. The elevated 2-lane traces the same serpentine path as Troublesome Creek, a 42-mile long tributary of North Fork of Kentucky River that flows through the North Perry and Breathitt counties. The farm near the unincorporated community of Rowdy had been in the Chad's family since 1856. So Tim quickly got dressed, worrying about his cows, and his farm, Holiday Farm, is beside Troublesome Creek, which flows close to their house in eastern Kentucky, right. And the land has been in Chad's family since 1856 because of the creek. It was once a useful water resource. The land would have been attractive to his ancestors precisely because of creek. ये जो लैंड है वो क्यों उनको अट्रैक्टिव लगी? बिकॉज ऑफ दिस क्रीक, दिस सोर्स ऑफ वाटर फॉर देम, देयर लाइवस्टॉक एंड देयर क्रॉप्स. So in these lines, the passage begins with a description of couple's deep-rooted connection to their family farm in Appalachia and introduces a sudden flood that threatens their home, family and their animals. Now electricity and cell phone service was out, but he could see a rapid rolling past their house each time lightning flashed. So there was no light. The only source that was the lightning. उसी के through he was able to see. It was impossible to reach the barn by crossing the backyard. Backyard से वो नहीं जा सकते थे. So the couple, armed with a single flashlight, forded the road-turned river. They crossed that road that had turned river now and lifted themselves up by tree trunks on the side of the steep mountain incline. Very vivid description. You can imagine whatever is written here. They dipped back down to swim in through the back of the barn. So non-stop बारिश हो रही है. It is a pitch dark, no power, no phone signal, only lightning, and the couple decided to rescue their trapped cows. Say they couldn't go from the backyard, so the couple decided to cross the flooded road and climb the mountain to reach the barn from behind. Now, above Holiday Farm sits Starfire Mine, a 7,000-acre former surface mine now home to Grassy Plateau, where 96 of their cows were safely grazing during the storm. ठीक है, ये अच्छी बात है. So उनके फार्म के ऊपर Starfire Mine है, ग्रासी प्लेटो है, जहाँ पे उनकी 96 cows they are fine, right? But 3 cows and 1 bull were injured and stuck inside the barn. 3 cows and 1 valuable bull had suffered injuries that summer and were being cared for in the closed barn. ठीक है, बाकी सब तो safe हैं. ये 3 cows and 1 bull. Chad and Tim swam to each cow, treading water as they pushed them out of the barn and up the mountain to safety. On their way back to house, Chad's flashlight caught the rising water rushing with force just below his foot trail. Tim descended on the path too early, sliding down a muddy incline, but managed to save himself by catching a tree branch, clinging to it as his legs dangled above a rushing rapid below. Chad lifted Tim by his shirt collar and the men eventually made it back to their porch when Chad's mother greeted them with towels. They had saved all their cows but lost 150 chickens, several cars and some farm equipment. So again, very vivid description. Tim and Chad swam in, helped each cow escape and climb uphill and finally made it back home. Tim nearly fell but grabbed a tree branch and Chad pulled him back. So they saved the cows but unke 150 chickens or cars, they lost it and few equipments. At sunrise, exhausted and mud-logged, Tim and Chad watched Ford F-150s and big body tree float downstream from the head of hollow as a fog rose, slowly glowing rose gold hues from the morning sun. The storm had quieted and calm fell over the farm. The day was new and the couple felt grateful to be alive. So the very last line of the passage, after surviving the terrifying night, the couple reflects with gratitude and relief, thankful for life despite all their losses. So this passage tells a true human story of courage, resilience during devastating times, right? It shows how love, quick thinking and determination helped Tim and Chad save their animals and themselves. Okay? Coming on to the next question, which of the following sentences from the passage is in past perfect tense? Okay? Tim descended on the path too early, sliding down a muddy incline. Tim descended, simple past hai, past perfect nahi hai. Heavy rains totaling upwards of 16 inches had fallen. Yes, it is the statement of past perfect tense, had plus verb's third form. At sunrise, so B is our correct answer. At sunrise, exhausted and mud-logged, Tim and Chad washed. It is also simple past statement. Electricity and cell phone service was out, but he could see a ragging rapid rolling past their house. Each time lightning flashed. They are both simple past, so we have got the correct answer, that is B. Next question. Tim and Chad risked their lives to save their livestock. बिल्कुल सही है, right? They risked their life. They took all. वो चाहते तो घर में भी रह सकते थे आराम से. This is because the barn was located safely above the flood waters. No, the barn was not located above the flood waters. Rather, it was flooded, which is why the animals were trapped and needed rescue, right? So we have got the correct answer. That is statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is false. Next question, what can be reasonably inferred about Chad's role during the rescue? He prioritized the chickens over the cows? No, He did not prioritize chickens. They were lost in the flood. तभी 150 chickens were lost and cows were rescued. He demonstrated leadership and physical strength in saving Tim and cattle. Yes, because he guided the rescue, swam through flood waters, and even lifted Tim by the shirt collar to save him. So this shows courage and leadership, right? So yes, B is our correct answer. He stayed behind at the house. No, he did not stay behind. He went with him. He gave up on rescuing livestock because of the rising waters. No, he did not give up. He completed the rescue successfully. Coming on to the next question. What broader theme does the passage highlight beyond the flood itself? The failure of local authorities to predict heavy rainfall. There is no mention of government failure or production, so A is irrelevant. The economic losses faced by farmers in Appalachia. Two narrow economic losses are mentioned, but not the central point. The irrelevance of faith in times of natural disaster. Wrong. The passage does not deny faith. यहाँ पे अगर relevance होता तो ये सही होता, right? The passage does not deny faith. It begins with a hopeful phrase about divine will, and ultimately the gratitude. It ends with a gratitude that they are safe. So C is also incorrect. The destructive capacity of nature against human settlement. Yes, D is the correct answer, because the passage's larger theme is the destructive power of nature. How overwhelming rain and flood can threaten life, property and human control. So yes, we have got the correct answer, that is D. Next question. The couple lost 150 chickens, cars and equipment, yet felt grateful to be alive. This situation illustrates a paradox, right? A is the correct answer, because two opposite truths, grateful, dangerous situation and grateful, right? The great loss, there is a great loss and there is a great gratitude. So these two are contradictory but true, right? So despite this tragedy, they feel thankful. So yes, we have got the correct answer, that is A. अगर हम irony की बात करें तो that means an unexpected twist or opposite outcome, but here both feels coexist naturally, not ironically. Hyperbole, there is no exaggeration, right? Contradiction. Contradiction means both statements cannot be true, right? एक गलत होगा, but यहाँ पे paradox है. Both statement can be contradictory but true. So yes, we have got the correct answer, that is A. Next question. Which of the following best describes the narrator's tone in the final paragraph? Resigned. No, the author is not resigned. It suggests giving up, which is not the case in this particular passage. Triumphant and celebratory. No, triumphant suggests celebration, which the paragraph completely avoids. They are grateful, they are not celebratory or triumphant. हमने जीत लिया. Detached and matter of fact. No, there is no detachment. They are not emotionally distant, but the narrator clearly shows the feeling, reflective with subdued relief. Yes, because the final paragraph, the narrator sounds reflective, thinking deeply about the event and filled with quiet relief. The tone is calm, thankful, not dramatic. So yes, D is the correct answer. Coming on to the next question. The couple's determination to rescue their cattle despite ragging floodwaters posed a dash of courage and desperation. Dilemma, बिल्कुल fit नहीं हो रहे हो तुम यहाँ पे. Dilemma of courage and desperation. No, it means a difficult choice. They acted immediately, not hesitantly. So there was no dilemma, right? Paradox. No, paradox doesn't fit here. There is no contradiction, right? Spectacle is to be seen or displayed, but this was private, desperate, not for show, right? Testament. Yes, testament means a clear proof, right? Or evidence of something. So their bravery and selflessness serve as testament of courage and desperation. So yes, we have got the correct answer, that is D. Now coming to passage 5. So the communication ministry, located in a traditional Damascene marble building next to parliament, was viewed by many Syrians as an extension of the feared Mukhbarat, the country's sprawling intelligence apparatus. Apparatus is a system or organization. Okay? And this Mukhbarat is an Arabic for intelligence service or secret police. Okay? Hurrani stayed at the office waiting nervously As Al-Jabawi attended the meeting where the ministry official with a polite smile, grilled him about their business. So, this Hurrani, a 26-year-old Syrian person, got a phone call from Ministry of Communication asking him and his partner Jubavi to come to their office, and यहाँ पे they are sitting here and ministry officials are grilling them. Quizlet helped high schoolers. No, so this is the app जिसके बारे में बात हो रही है, Quizlet, an app that helped high schoolers learn with games and quizzes, officially running over a year. It had been downloaded by around 15,000 students, but despite months of visits to the relevant government departments, the company had struggled to obtain an operating license. So अभी तक किसको, Al-Jabawi और Hurrani को अभी इनको अपने आप के लिए लाइसेंस नहीं मिला है. The official warned Jabavi that he and Hurrani faced arrest for operating without a license. So they got threatened by officials that you can get arrested. He also asked them to withdraw Quizlet from the app store. Right? Take down the app. The pair believed the meeting was part of wider squeeze like pressure or control for money on educational apps and websites. Even in its dying moments, a regime crippled by sanctions and war was trying to take cuts from its impoverished citizens. So Hurrani was nervous as his partner attended the meeting. An official was polite but asked many tough questions. Startup and यहाँ पे in these lines, the official warned that they could be arrested for operating without permission and told them to take their app off the app store, and he made several demands. Right? So the government intimidated these two entrepreneurs by threatening them for running their education app without license and demanding control. And the ministry did not want them to use a server base outside the country. It demanded access to their customer database. So these are the demands of those ministry officials. Outside server नहीं इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं, अपना customer database share करना होगा. It wanted a cut of their profits on top of taxes. All right. So these were the demands of those officials. A follow-up meeting was arranged on Sunday, December 8. When the day arrived, Hurrani woke up fearing the meeting could lead to arrest. अगले दिन जब on December 8, when Hurrani was scared the meeting might lead to his arrest, but it never happened. Instead, rebel fighters stormed the capital that morning. Regime forces melted away, and Assad, whose family had ruled for more than 50 years, fled to Moscow. So that morning, rebel fighters took control of Damascus, the capital of Syria, and Assad, he fled away to Moscow. So that meeting never happened. 14 years of a grinding civil war were over. Over 500,000 people were dead. The economy was in free fall and state coffers were drained. State coffers yani state treasury. State treasury were drained. The country would now be ruled by leader of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, then a US designated terrorist group credibly accused by human rights groups of detaining and torturing civilians. Hurrani had no idea what might come next. All right. He then packed up his office and rushed home. The next morning, though, Hurrani was surprised to find the capital calm. After Assad fled and the state was taken by this by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, he was feared, but to his surprise, the very next day, the capital was in peace. He called his employees to congratulate them on Assad's fall and then went outside to celebrate. For the first time in years, he told rest of the world he felt optimistic for Syria and a nascent tech economy, nascent yani the beginning, right? Budding tech economy he had always hoped would help his long-suffering country. It was our dream, but it was surprising. Hurrani said of watching his country change overnight, the first thing that has happened when the regime fell is that mobile phones started working. Again, it was maybe a good sign, omen, a sign. Okay? It was a good sign. So overall, the Syrian regime suddenly collapsed, ending years of dictatorship and war. And despite uncertainty, Hurrani is feeling optimistic, especially for the tech community. Right? Now, Syria's conflict began in 2011 as a peaceful uprising against Assad amid a wider Arab Spring. As a regime in Tunisia, Egypt and Libya fell, many Syrians hoped their country would follow, but Syria's government responded to street protests with extreme force, and brutal civil war quickly drew in government forces, rebel groups, Islamic extremists and foreign powers. So when people in several Arab countries protected against dictators, right, during that Arab Spring, Tunisia, Egypt and Libya overthrew their rulers, Syria's government reacted with brutal violence, right, turning protests into long and bloody civil war. And the country, more than 22 million people, spiraled into one of the worst humanitarian crises of the century. Syria's social media savvy generation had played an important role in the spread of country's initial demonstration, as many Syrians got around the country's extensive internet censorship with proxy tools. So, Syrian war began as a peaceful protest for freedom but became a violent, complex conflict. And early on, tech-savvy youth used digital tools to resist censorship and share their struggle, right? They bypassed internet censorship using proxy tools. Proxy tools are software that hide a user's location, right, to access blog sites and organize the protest. So overall, अगर हम बात करें तो this passage is discussing about those two young entrepreneurs, Hourani and Al-Jabawi, जिनका एक education app है Quizlet, that came under government pressure just before Syrian regime collapsed, and it contrasts bureaucratic oppression under Assad with the unexpected political revolution that brought both fear and hope, right? And then story reflects how technology, youth and freedom intertwine in times of conflict. Coming on to the next question, emotional shift across the passage. ठीक है. Option A, anxiety, anger, disappointment. No, there is no anger. So let's eliminate it. Option B, confidence. Confidence kahin bhi hame nahi mila. Curiosity. No, the emotion doesn't appear at all. This curiosity, defiance, nostalgia, calm हमको कहीं नहीं मिला. Yes, D is the correct answer, because at first Hourani felt like he was feared. Then he worries about his arrest. Then after the government, the regime collapsed, he was relieved, right? And finally, when Assad falls and phones start working again, he feels hopeful. So yes, D is the correct answer. Now, next question. The passage notes the first thing that happened when the regime fell is the mobile phone started working again. This can be best understood as the coincidence with no real symbol. Bilkul nahi, it is not a coincidence, right? It's clearly a symbolic of new freedom. A paradox highlighting how ordinary freedom symbolized political change. Yes, B is the correct answer, because when the regime falls and suddenly phones start working, it is not just a technical issue. It shows that the freedom of communication is returning. Ordinary things like using a phone now stands for larger political freedom. Irony, since phone worked but broader freedom remained uncertain. No, the tone is hopeful, not ironic. Right? Evidence that foreign governments had been controlling Syria's communication. The test never says this, so this is irrelevant. Next question. Why does the author recount the founder's struggles with licensing servers and profit sharing before narrating Assad's fall? ठीक है. To illustrate how corruption trickled into even small startups. Yes, A is the correct answer, because the author first shows how Quizlet faced bureaucratic corruption, demands for bribes, censorship, profit cuts. So this sets the background that even innocent entrepreneurs were trapped under the regime's control. To suggest that app Quizlet was directly responsible, there is no direct link of this app and political collapse. To portray Hourani and Jawabi as naive entrepreneur, no, they are shown as hardworking and careful, not naive. To emphasize that state prioritize education reform over censorship, no, the focus is on censorship and greed, not reform, right? Not reform. Next question, effect of the line Assad fled to Moscow. ठीक है. Is it hyperbole? No. The sentence does not exaggerate. Is it euphemism? क्या बहुत blunt चीज़ को बहुत ही प्यार से बोला जा रहा है, soften करके बोला जा रहा है. Is it hiding the truth? No. It is not exaggeration. It is not a subtle way or polite way to say something harsh. It is not a satire because the author is not mocking. He is serious. He is factual. Yes, it is understatement. Why? Because the fall of 50-year regime is a huge news. But the author simply states it very calmly that Assad fled to Moscow. So that this underplays how historic the event is. So yes, the D, option D is correct one, the understatement. Next question, the mention of Tunisia, Egypt and Libya primarily serves to suggest that Syria uprising was inevitable within the Arab Spring wave. Yes, A is the correct answer because the example that shows that many countries in the region saw revolution during Arab Spring. So Syria uprising was part of the regional pattern, right? Option B dekhte, contrast Syria's peaceful protest tradition with violent Arab states. No such contrast is made irrelevant. Show that foreign governments actively support. No mention of any foreign government. Argue that Assad's regime was less repressive. It was very much repressive. So contradictory of what is stated in the passage. Why might Hurani have considered the fall of Assad a good sign, a good omen specifically for Syria's tech economy? Because Assad himself had personally banned mobile application. No, Assad ne personally ban nahi kiya tha. It was a system. It was a whole system, not personally or individually Assad. Because foreign investors would now freely fund Syrian startup. Irrelevant, not mentioned in the passage at all. Because freedom from censorship and state interference could enable innovation. Yes, C is the correct answer because Assad's regime fall, it means the control, censorship and corruption that blocked startups might end. That's why Hurani feels hopeful. Now creativity and innovation can grow freely because rebel fighters had a history of supporting technological progress. No evidence of that, right? No mention in the passage. Next question, which statement is correct, is an incorrect statement based on the passage. ठीक है. Option A, the ministry official warned Quizzes founders that they could face arrest. It is true according to the passage, right? We can infer it. It is correct. Assad fled to Moscow after regime forces melted away during rebel advance. Yes, this is also correct. Hurani celebrated Assad's fall by calling his employees and stepping outside to join others. Yes, C is also true. Hurani called employees and celebrated, right? The fall of Assad immediately ended censorship and guaranteed complete freedom, very extreme, complete freedom for Syrian entrepreneurship. No, the statement goes too far. The passage shows hope and optimism, but it does not say that censorship immediately ended or freedom was guaranteed. It only hints that things might improve. So option D is very extreme. So option D is incorrect according to the passage. Coming on to the next passage. So once on my first ever trip to Greece, my husband and I took what we thought was going to be a short walk around the island of Hydra, only to end up on 13-mile hike through a seared like burnt, very hot, shadeless expanse of scrubby hill. Shadeless yani without shade and scrap yani small piece. Okay? Small piece of that hill completely lost. It was 96 degrees and final 2/3 of the hike after it had become plain that the town we had seen on the map were just sun-bleached ruins. Sun-bleached yani faded by the sun. Everything was faded by रंग उड़ चुका था उनका and it was too late to turn back. हम वापस भी नहीं जा सकते थे. Offered not a single scrap of shade. We had just 2 tiny bottles of water between us. Right? So in these lines, a simple walk turns into a dangerous, exhausting hike under extreme heat. Right? Now, this wasn't how the day was supposed to be. They were not planning this trip. They haven't thought that this trip will go this way. We had arrived in Greece in the middle dash, a merciless heat wave, and after a few days had opted dash defect to Hydra from Athens because we couldn't bear the city's swelter and clog. Swelter is extreme heat, clog means overcrowding, extreme heat and overcrowding. Sleep had been hard to come by on account of jet lag and other feverishly hot rented apartment. Opening windows brought little relief, and along with it mosquitoes and the neighborhood clamor of all night partying 4 stories below. We had seen in search for the fabled ease of Hydra. Fabled yani famous, legendary, right? Fabled ease of Hydra, a place where people hauled goods and water with donkeys. Instead of car, replete with a horseshoe, replete yani full of horseshoe harbor shaped in horseshoe shape, right? Lovely cafes and so many beaches in which to bob in the sea. So they sought tranquility on Hydra, escaping the heat and stress of Athens. वो यहाँ पे क्यों आ रहे थे? To have some peace. Now the trip was an important one for me because I had always dreamed of visiting Greece. So this trip was important. Visiting Greece was a long time dream for the author. It was constantly pitched to me, a third generation Greek America as a personal homeland. Here finally I had come to research the migration crisis. So she wanted to study the refugee crisis and also explore her family Greek root, the real crisis that resulted in a humanitarian strangulation of refugees, not the manufactured one of their arrival, and how it threatened the nativist vision of both Greece and Europe at large. So nativist yani favoring native people over immigrants, है ना? And humanitarian strangulation is a severe restriction causing suffering. Humanitarian strangulation causing suffering, right? So she wanted to study the refugee crisis, and she reflects on how stories about migration are unequal or biased depending on who tells them. But I was also searching my family Greek origins from the Ellis Island. So she was here to study migrants. She was here to see her Greek roots, family Greek roots, right? And grappling with the asymmetry with which we humans within families, neighborhoods, nation state, newspaper and within our own soul narrate stories of our migration. And now I was grappling with the unholy heat. Now she's struggling to deal with this scorching heat. On that hike, the path kept appearing and disappearing, leading us astray, lost, leading us lost. Though we could see the port down of Hydra down below miles away and the boats and bathers on beaches nearby, we could never figure out how to reach them. How was it possible to slip so quickly from paradise into a sweltering hellscape of no exit? So at this moment she was mainly struggling with the extreme heat, right? This trip has deep personal and professional significance, but she is suffering with extreme scorching heat. As we searched for the path, I became so dehydrated that my legs wobbled, right? Her legs are shivering, and I involuntarily peed my pants. I hallucinated patches of shade and sat in them. Unaware I was fully bare beneath the sun. So she is hallucinating now. Each time I stopped, horseflies bit up my brush-scraped legs and feasted on the patches of blood. Knuckle-sized spiders began to appear on webbing spun across the pathway, crawling up my face and arms. Or was this too क्या ये जो description है that spiders are crawling? She is asking कि whether this is reality or am I hallucinating it too? I had begun to see an elaborate pantheon of gods and bees. So she has started pantheon yani group of gods and bees yani large number of mythical characters. तो हम मान सकते हैं कि she is hallucinating. So extreme heat, dehydration and exhaustion made the hike dangerous, disorienting and hallucinatory. So this passage is just describing the journey in Greece that combines personal discovery and adventure with struggle against extreme heat and exhaustion, right? Coming on to the next question. Which of the following best captures the dual purpose? Dual purpose क्या था? एक तो migration माइग्रेंट्स के बारे में जानना, दूसरा रिसर्च ऑन और अपनी फैमिली रूट्स के बारे में जानना, राइट. द एक्सपीरियंस ग्रीस as a long awaited vacation spot and investigates its cultural mythology. It is partially correct but does not include refugee study, right. It is excluding that refugee study part, so A is incorrect. To explore family tradition while also examining Greece culinary history, there is no mention of culinary history, so B is incorrect. To reconnect with her ancestral homeland and write a travelogue about Greek island, writing a travelogue is not stated, again partially correct. To reconnect with her ancestral homeland and study the refugee, yes, D is correct, right. साफ साफ ऑथर ने मेंशन किया है, रिसर्चिंग हर फैमिली ग्रीक ओरिजिन, दैट इज एंसेस्ट्रल होमलैंड एंड स्टडिंग द रिफ्यूजी माइग्रेशन crisis. Coming on to the next question. The line, how was it possible to slip so quickly from paradise into a sweltering hellscape of no exit, primarily uses with figurative device. Is it irony? No. Irony is like there is no twist in mentioning that she is telling something, saying something else, meaning something else. No. Is it exaggeration? No. Yes, it is metaphor. How? Because author is comparing paradise to hellscape without using like as, which makes it a metaphor, right. Personification? No, because no human traits are given to any non-human thing. Next question. Which of the following most directly worsened the author's physical suffering during hike? The lack of proper maps, ऐसा बिल्कुल मेंशन ही नहीं है, मतलब lack of maps only cause confusion. यहाँ पे physical suffering की बात हो रही है, right. So A is incorrect. The extreme heat combined with inadequate water supply, yes, explicitly stated in the passage, right. Heat plus little water cause dehydration, wobbly legs, hallucination, right. So B is the correct answer. The fear of local wildlife like spiders and horseflies, no, they are added discomfort, and we are not sure whether it was the real spiders or was she hallucinating. C is incorrect. The pressure of researching the refugee crisis, there is no pressure, research pressure, and this pressure cannot physically harm her, isn't it? So D is also incorrect. Next question. The author's state of mind during that hallucination when she is seeing those gods and beasts. Euphoric and spiritually transcendent? No, euphoric. She is not happy or spiritual. Bitter and resentful towards Greece? No, she is not resenting. No bitterness or resentment is shown. Exhausted and disoriented? Yes, C is the correct answer because hallucination, wobbly legs and confusion indicate severe exhaustion, right. So yes, C is the correct option. Detached and indifferent to her surrounding? No, she is very much actively suffering, though she is not indifferent to her surrounding. So D is also incorrect. Next question. I was also researching my family's Greek origins from the Ellis Island generation some 100 years prior and grappling with the asymmetry with which we humans narrate stories of our migration. The word asymmetry most nearly means, ठीक है, asymmetry का क्या मतलब है? Lack of balance or fairness. Yes, asymmetry refers to unequal or biased storytelling about migration, right. Absence of clarity is less precise, ठीक है. Option A is more apt. Deep cultural connection? No, it is opposite in the meaning, right. Personal confusion is too narrow. The imbalance is broader. So we have got the correct answer, that is A. Next question. Juxtaposition of refugee crisis and personal suffering. ठीक है. To trivialize the crisis by equating it with personal discomfort? No. The trivializing is wrong. She is not making the crisis less serious. So A is incorrect. To emphasize that both crises stem from climate change, no mention of climate change. To suggest that tourism in Greece distracts from political realities, again tourism distraction is irrelevant to show how physical hardship mirrors deeper social and historical struggles. Yes, D is correct because the author uses her heat related suffering as metaphor for larger human struggles. So this is the why does the author juxtapose the refugee crisis with her personal heat induced? This is why she wanted to juxtapose, right. She wanted to reflect on broader societal and historical challenges. D is the correct answer. Next question. Which sentence does not contain an example of the past perfect tense? ठीक है. We had arrived. इसमें है past perfect. The trip was an important one for me because I had always dreamed. इसमें भी है. I had begun to see. इसमें भी है. Knuckle-sized spiders began to appear on webbing spun. इसमें सिर्फ simple past है. There is no past perfect tense here. तो D is the correct answer. Next question. What broader commentary does the author make through her description of Hydra? ठीक है. Travel is often more dangerous than it appears. No. Travel danger is incidental. It is not that broader commentary. Migration narratives and lived realities of homeland are layered with contradiction. Yes, because homeland and migration experiences are complex. Right? The author contrasts expectation versus reality, linking personal experience to migration stories. Yes, B is the correct answer. Greek Americans can easily reconnect with their ancestral roots. No, they cannot easily reconnect. Right? The trip is difficult. Tourism erases all traces of hardship in nation. No, tourism. Option D is not discussed. Irrelevant. Next question. Correct preposition क्या होगा? We had arrived in Greece in the middle of, obviously in the middle of a merciless heat wave, and after a few days had opted to defect to Hydra. So the verb opt is followed by to. Opt to. He has opted to. Opt to plus verb, इसलिए opted to defect to Hydra from Athens, right? So when it means choosing a destination, or option like for or into do not fit idiomatically with opted, right? So A is correct answer. अगर हम for, into और for, during और in की बात करें तो in the middle for is wrong, right? In the middle during is redundant, and in the middle in is wrong. So we have got the correct answer, that is in the middle of, and opted to defect to Hydra from Athens. Next passage. The name of book is a ruse. Ruse is a trick or deception. Okay. Camping on low or no dollars, the dingy cover page reads. An older edition bears a similarly anodyne title. Anodyne is a plain, nothing exciting. Okay. Anodyne title. From Birmingham to Wendover, both are misdirection intended to keep the wrong people, cops, journalists, nosy normies like me, from realizing what they are holding. So in these lines, author is saying that this book looks very normal camping guide. Okay? The book cover title is misleading. It is not just a camping guide. The real purpose is to teach people how to hop a freight trains, right? The crew change guide is a set of best practices and guidelines for hopping freight trains anywhere in the US and Canada. A crew change refers to a train personnel shift, a brief window of opportunity for those brave enough to take it, and why they have given this mundane title to keep away these people, cops, journalists, nosy normies. In the heist movie, this is that 10-second gap after the night watchman clocks out and before his replacement takes over. So this crew change refers to a short opportunity जब train hoppers board the train undetected, similar to any heist movie scene. जब guard की shift बदल रही होती है तब he hops over the train, right? For a train hopper, it's a rare chance to climbing up a wagon undetected. ठीक है? The guide is either the train hopper's Bible or an outdated relic, a must-have or a crutch, depending on whom you ask. So author is saying that this guide is seen as essential or outdated. Its subtitle says it's about hiking, camping, but there is no map. Okay, the subtitle dubs an alternative hiking or camping guide, but there is no map. You won't find any trail map inside. Instead, what you see in these unstapled pages are dense walls of highly acronymized text, यानी short form में लिखे होंगे, acronym heavy text. The first guide appeared in 1988. East Joliet YD is becoming a major CN/GM YD and CC point for through trains. Reads the line headed Gibson City E. Jackson crosses over S end of YD IM any of DT. The acronyms are more shorthand than code, a way of packing as much information as possible into 154 page. So this particular guide written by a secretive author trained dog who is very protective about his identity has used a very heavy loaded acronyms and train info. So this is a very secretive and protective book. The aesthetic ethos here is lightness, economy, discretion. The first crew change guide appeared as partly typed, partly handwritten pamphlet in 1988. And the true identity of its author, a reclusive 76-old Vietnam veteran known only as train dog. So the writer is very reclusive. He likes to remain low-key, is as fiercely protected as the guide itself. Train dog disguised his voice for his sole interview, and of the 3 people I have spoken to who claimed to know him, none agreed to go on the record. The most consistent report about him is that he is remarkably litigious. Litigious is ready to sue in court, right? He is purported to threaten anyone and everyone who uploads the guide to the internet with copyright infringement. So he is very protective about his book, right? And he is very secretive, and he is about no copy can go online. True or not, the document remains conspicuously absent online. It exists only in physical, and its scarcity has made the guide a sacred writ. Conspicuously is wide. It is very obvious to see that it is not present online, and its physical presence is very sacred, right? It's very rare. Scarcity had made the guide a sacred writ. Sacred writ is something treated as holy, very important, right? To train hopping circles across the country, scans have been known to surface on the darknet now. उसके कुछ scans darknet में upload. Darknet is a part of internet that is hidden. Darknet में available, and scammers exploit the unmet demand by selling bogus PDFs and blank pages and bloody photographs. Train dog, however, insists on keeping the guide free and low profile. It is not meant to be sold for more than the price of copying. He writes in the introduction, only give copies to riders who will be responsible. Okay? So the guide is not available online, and it is very holy. Scammers try to sell fake copies, but Train Dog insists the real guide is free and only given to responsible users only. The guide is either the train hopper's Bible or an outdated relic, a must-have or a crutch depending on whom you ask. The subtitle dubs it an alternative hiking and camping guide, but you won't find any trail map inside. Instead, what you see is that, okay? So, despite its subtitle claiming about its hiking camping guide, the book is full of dense acronyms. Okay, we have already read it. So the guide prioritizes compact, discrete, information rich, not actual hiking camping content, and the passage explains that the crew change guide is not normal hiking camping. ठीक है. So overall it is about the guide's design focuses on discretion, portability and practical knowledge, not its outward appearance. Coming on to the next question, which of the following can be rightfully concluded from the passage? Train dock intentionally keeps the crew change guide obscure to prevent misuse. Yes, very explicitly stated in the passage, right? Because train dock wants guide free and low profile and only shared with responsible writers, as mentioned in the passage, right? This shows he deliberately keeps it hidden to prevent it being misused. The guide is legally available online. No, the passage never says that the guide is available online. No, it is not available online. Only available in darknet वो भी the fake copies. All train hoppers strictly follow the instruction in the guide. No, the passage never says कि all train hoppers. Very extreme. The guide's content is mostly fictional design. No, the guide is practical, not fictional. It's not for any entertainment. Designed as a heist movie supplement. No, it is not for entertainment. Next question, why does the author describe multiple editions of the guide as having misdirection titles? Alright, to attract more readers? No, साफ साफ हमारे पैसेज में बार बार रिपीट हो रहा है to keep it low key, right? तो it is incorrect, just opposite. To comply with government regulations are nowhere mentioned as the reason. To increase the resale value, the darknet resale is not the intended purpose at all. To conceal its true purpose from outsiders. Yes, D is the correct answer. साफ passage में लिखा है that ordinary looking titles are meant to mislead people like cops, journalists, curious outsiders, so they do not realize the guide's real purpose. Right? Next question. Why does the author include detailed description of shorthand like East Joliet YD is becoming a major CNGM YD and CC point for through trains? So, to demonstrate the guide's inefficiency, no, the author does not say the guide is inefficient. To criticize the use of abbreviation, there is no criticism of official abbreviation at all. To illustrate how information is packed for efficiency and secrecy, yes, C is the correct answer. Very explicitly stated in the passage that the acronyms are explained as more shorthand than code, right? And a way to compress information efficiently while remaining discreet. To show how complex is it for beginners to understand, the complexity for beginners is mentioned indirectly, but the main point is efficiency and secrecy. Next question. Which statement best describes the author's narrative stance toward train dock and his guide? Ironically critical, questioning the guide's practicality. The tone is not ironically critical, it is respectful, it is not mocking at all. So A is incorrect. Detached and purely factual without any subjective coloring. No, the author includes personal observation and humor, so it is not purely factual as well. Option C, respectfully intrigued, balancing skepticism with admiration. Yes, C is the correct answer because the author shows curiosity and respect, noting train dock's secrecy and strict rule while observing the guide's unusual style. So it is a mix of admiration and careful questioning. Condescending? No, nowhere it is belittling or condescending. Right? Train dock is shown as careful and secretive, not obsessive or paranoid or in any negative way. Right? So D is also incorrect. So we have come to an end of this analysis video. Hope you have understood each and every passage and the questions, options, why any option, why the answer is correct answer, why other options are incorrect. So thank you so much and stay logical with Vidya.